A year or so ago, I reviewed this Bang Olufsen B&O A1 little Bluetooth speaker. Yeah, Bluetooth speaker reviews, they're boring, aren't they? Well, this is even more boring because it's a follow-up to that one. I'll tell you what's going on. A chap called Andrew on Patreon, he sent me a message. He said it might be an idea for me to get a second one of these because he thought it was game-changing because you can link two together, get a nice stereo sound out of them. And he says, without hyperbole, it's the best sound he's ever experienced. Using an Ultra HD stream, he can hear things in songs that he's loved for decades that he's never heard before. Now, the thing is, these things are about 240 quid in the UK. At the moment, I've seen them on Amazon for 200 quid. I wasn't going to spend that just to make a little short video, but I thought it'd be nice just to find out. I mean, if somebody says it's like the best sound I've ever heard, I want to have a go and see if it's pretty good at my end as well. So I did buy one. I bought one second hand on eBay, very lightly used. I think it came from like a store, like an ex-demo or something, and I managed to get the green colour that I originally wanted. Now you're thinking, hold on, those don't match because this is the other one. I've got a black one here. Well, I think that's quite useful because if you're going to be putting them out as a stereo pair, one colour for one channel, one for the other, and then you'll remember which way around you've got them. If you've got two that are identical, you're going to mix them up perhaps. So we don't want to do that with stereo. Anyway, that's the intro. Let's unbox this, let's pair it up, and let's see if it is an excellent sound quality or if I'm not going to be blown away. Doesn't matter. Either way, I've got them now, so I'm going to be using them, but let's find out. Right, I'm just going to charge it up, but I want to mention a couple of things that I didn't include on the last video. The first thing is that when you plug the USB-C lead in here to charge it, it also turns the speaker on. Now that's quite handy because you don't have to necessarily go over to the speaker and press the power button on the side when you want to turn it on. Of course you can switch it off while it's charging, it doesn't have to be on. But the idea of it automatically coming on as soon as it receives power is handy if you were, say, to have these plugged into something else that once that device turns on, such as your computer, your speakers come on automatically, or you could have these linked up to one of those plugs that you were to speak to through your home assistant and turn on the speakers and your speakers would come on. The other thing I wanted to mention, I saw in the comments just as I was putting this video together that a couple of people were confused about the aptX standard. It uses aptX Adaptive. And they were saying, oh, it's rubbish, you don't use aptX HD. Well, aptX Adaptive is an update. It includes aptX HD. I think it includes aptX Low Latency. It includes all of them. It also incorporates AAC on here as well. It uses Bluetooth 5.1. Right, let's charge it up, pair it up, and have a listen. Oh, and there's just something I'd like to add in here. If you saw the previous video and you've got a good memory, you might remember this section where I discovered a bug with the microphone for the voice calls.
And at the moment, my voice will be coming through on this really quite muffled.
And then I said this. I'm sure they can fix it with a firmware update. And what do you know? There's now a firmware update that improves the voice call performance. I assume Bang & Olufsen's bug fix bounty is just days away from arriving in the post. Okay, now to connect these up as a stereo pair, you can either use the app on your phone or do it with the device themselves. I'd rather do it with the device. I think you just hold down the Bluetooth button for 5 seconds. Until this goes white, there we go, and then do the same again on this one. Well, we've got some confirmation beeps. Okay, well so far it's both coming out of the left-hand speaker, so let's try this again. Right, well that one's gone solid, that one's still flashing, I don't think that's right. Let's try that again. Yeah, I'm having no luck with this at all, I've tried it every which way so far. Let's switch it off again and give it another go.
Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
Right, now to test these out, I want to send across the best quality Bluetooth audio that I can. What codec is it, though, that I should be using to get the highest quality results? The speakers support aptX Adaptive and AAC, and the iPhone supports AAC. But is that going to be as good as the best that I could have got out of it if I'd used aptX? Now, if I was to use a Sony Walkman instead of an iPhone, well, this is billed as an HD audio device, but Sony likes to use LDAC for their highest quality Bluetooth audio, so that's going to be no use. It will still work, but it'll just default back to a lower quality standard codec that both devices can support instead, like SBC. But then I do have this other Sony Walkman, which is based around an Android operating system, and this one supports aptX HD, which is supposed to be part of the aptX Adaptive standard that the speakers can support. So I'll start with that one. But to say that all the competing codecs have made high-res Bluetooth audio a bit confusing might be somewhat of an understatement.
Mary's dress away.
Right, it has been a couple of weeks now since I've had 2 of these speakers, and therefore I've had enough time to form an opinion about them. And I'm very, very impressed. I was thinking, okay, well, this sounded excellent, and add another one on, I'm just going to get excellent in stereo. But it's gone up beyond that. It's like 1 + 1 = 3 or something. It's really elevated things to a new level. The quality that you get out of these in stereo is absolutely outstanding. Now, again, look at the size of the things. You're not going to have them in a room and have the audio equivalent to what you'd have through massive hi-fi speakers. But if you put them on a table, either side of your computer or whatever, it is really very impressive. As far as me just thinking, oh, it's going to be good, but in stereo, it's so much better than that. It got me wondering what's going on here. Why does it sound so much better once you've got 2 speakers rather than 1? And I got to thinking, is that because if you have a stereo piece of music and you're playing it back through a single speaker, is that causing some kind of issues? If somebody's done a mix and they've intended to have like keyboard over here, guitar over there, singer in the middle, drums in the middle somewhere, and then you squash all that down onto 1 speaker, is that going to cause a problem? Because if you had 2 speakers, this one's playing the keyboard, this one's playing the guitar, and now you're asking this one to play keyboard and guitar all together, is that going to cause some kind of problems? And I was thinking, yeah, it must do, mustn't it? But I've never heard anyone go on about it. I mean, you've got 1 speaker like doing double time, effectively. Surely it's going to cancel itself out in a way. Now, there are a couple of things that I feel I should add in here for clarity. First, yes, when most things are mixed for stereo, it's not all or nothing on either channel. Things are generally just steered towards the left or right side, but still audible on the other. And secondly, while I'm talking about the B&O Sound A1 as 1 speaker, it does in fact contain 2 separate drivers, a woofer and a tweeter. But now returning to that question that I was pondering, besides the obvious loss of the stereo, are there any other issues that need to be considered whenever stereo music is going to be played back via a single mono speaker? It took me quite a while to find any articles on this, but I found this one. I'll link you to it in the video description. And it's talking about how to mix things in stereo, but with a plan for this thing to be played back in mono. Like mono compatibility, really. And it goes on about, like, for example, the bass, mono out the bass, because the bass isn't really directional. But then also don't be too spatial, because when you put it all together, you get phase issues and cancellation issues. A lot of modern music, if you do hear it in stereo at some point, it does all sound very much in the middle. And that's intentional. They've done it that way so that when you play it through your phone or through a Bluetooth speaker, it sounds all right. But the trouble is, when you start playing stuff back from the 60s, 70s and 80s, and they've spaced everything out, and now you're trying to play that back through 1 speaker, and it's causing all sorts of issues. When you play the right piece of music back through these, it sounds so much better than it does through a single speaker. And it's not just about it being stereo, it opens it out, you get these extra layers of the music, you're not flattening everything down, it doesn't feel crushed in the same way. There are some issues though, and it's to do with the stereo connection between the 2. I was struggling trying to get these 2 things connected as stereo by holding down a button on them, hold this one down, then that one down, and both together for so long, all that. It wasn't really working out for me. So then I went into the app. I thought, forget it, I'll use the app, the Bang Olufsen app. Dead easy in that. You just go into it and you connect to the first one, it shows you the second one, it says connect as a stereo pair, and then you can swap round which way round they are. It works really well, but it takes perhaps 30 seconds from turning it on to do that. And then when you turn one off at the end with the button on it, it will power down the other one. Great, but it forgets everything. The next time you turn it on, you've got to do it again. So you'll turn both of your devices on, your Bluetooth will connect with one of them, and then you have to go in the Bang Olufsen app and connect them up again. Unless I'm doing something wrong. I mean, I thought surely these things will just remember that they were a stereo pair, but no, they don't. Now, if you can get them connected up as a stereo pair without the app, it means you could do something like I'm doing here, connecting them up to this Soundburger. And once you've got them connected up like this, either volume control on either speaker will control both simultaneously. But I really need to stress this next point, because I would not recommend anyone try to use them in this manner, because whilst I got it working once, it was just the once. After I'd powered them down, powered it back on again, it forgot the stereo pair. I tried to connect them up as a stereo pair, and I could not get them to talk to one another. Trying every possible option, I could not get the two things to connect up as a stereo pair and also talk to the turntable. It's dead easy through the app, but that means you've got to use them with the device connected up to the app, whether it's your smartphone or your tablet or whatever. If you're thinking of using them standalone as stereo speakers connected up to a device like this Soundburger here, I would strongly advise you not to bother. But just returning back to why I think two speakers can sound so much more clearly defined than one. Imagine this radio was tuned into somebody reading out the news, but then you were to add in this radio where someone is simultaneously reading out the sports results. It would be a struggle for me to concentrate on whichever one of these I was most interested in hearing. However, if I was to space the radios out like this, the natural ability we have to pinpoint a sound would make it far easier for me to focus in on the one that I wanted to hear and filter out the other one. And that's why, in my opinion, stereo wins out over a single speaker, even one with a load of drivers in it like this. If the sound is all emanating from one place, you can't physically insert yourself in between it, and therefore your ability to pick out sounds based upon their location is compromised. Being able to space these speakers apart and yet still keep each one within perhaps an arm's length on either side of a desk or a table places you right in the middle of the music, and therefore you're able to pinpoint and pull out details and subtleties that you might never have noticed before. In summary, the B&O Sound A1 Gen 2 is an excellent speaker that sounds even better as a pair, but given the usability issues and the price, I would struggle to recommend that anyone should buy two of these. However, if you've already got one, and if, like myself, you can find another one at a big discount, and if you don't mind charging two devices up, and if you don't mind pairing them up with the app every time you use them, then the results are very impressive. But that is a heck of a lot of ifs. Way too many for most people. But now I've experienced what this sounds like when you've got two speakers, I'm not going back to one speaker. Right, anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.